Over the next 20 minutes, 25 minutes, talking about 4 key areas: mobile commerce trends, looking at the millennial customer segment, which in many ways are really driving this sort of mobile agenda from an e-com point of view. Buy now, pay later, this new way to shop in the UK, and Klarna's rolling that, also mentioning other players. This won't just be a Klarna sales pitch. And then wrapping up with mobile commerce best practice. So just as a starting point, I think it's important to remind ourselves that actually from an e-com point of view, the UK is in a good place at the moment. You know, a lot of the headlines about retail and tough trading conditions, and it is tough out there on the high street. It's really tough. You know, big names like Maplin, Toys R Us in administration, but actually the UK in terms of e-com as a percentage of total retail sales, we're leading a lot of markets. So the US 11.8, you've got the UK at 18%. So it's a good foundation in terms of e-com. And mobile penetration is high. You know, a lot of these stats and figures, you'd expect 94% of UK adults own a mobile. The average figure of number of interactions is 90. A lot of people in the room doing that right now. So 90 a day, and 4.4 hours per day on a mobile, and that's the 18 to 25-year-old group. And then loads of stats, fun stats around sort of mobile usage. Teens within 5 minutes of waking and 5 minutes of sleeping. I'm sure you're familiar with these, but there's one that you may not want to research too much, which is the amount of bacteria on a mobile compared to a toilet door handle. But I'll leave that there. So some Google data over the last couple of years, an 85% increase in where to buy as a search term, and really putting the mobile firmly in the purchase decision journey, and people often with geolocation, you know, where can I buy, where can I get this? And a bit of a mind-boggling stat from Google as well, that in the last 2 years, 50,000 years worth of review content has been consumed on mobile phones. So product reviews, could be music reviews, but people, this voracious appetite for consuming information on mobiles. But, and it's a big but, and for a lot of you in the room right now, particularly merchants, I'm sure you'll testify to this, it's still hard to buy on a mobile phone. And if you're a merchant, you may now be seeing more traffic coming from mobile, but conversions are nowhere near desktop conversions. So putting your shopper hat on, you know, it's hard, as you can see in the image, the lady trying to punch in credit card details, small screen. I have fat thumb syndrome when I try and buy on a mobile, so it's tough. So mobile conversions aren't keeping up with mobile usage and mobile traffic. So we look at millennials, and as I mentioned, they're really driving the sort of mobile e-com agenda. Millennials in numbers, and the millennial group, if you include Generation Z, 18 to 34. So they, in the UK, they account for over 50% of online purchases. Most analysts agree they are the most valuable customer group. For any merchant in this room right now, millennials are the most valuable group. They're digital natives, really have an app-first mentality, an average of 9 key apps that they use every day, and 30 a month. And for them, the apps are really an extension of their personal brand. So their PBV is defined by travel, the brands they buy, shopping, music, you know, that's all part of their sort of PBV. 61% of daily app usage on social platforms, and 24% have said they've deleted an app if it doesn't suit their phone, if they just don't like the icon, or so that's 24% of the millennial group. Had to include this one. This one tickles me from a UK point of view, but when asked the question, and this is LifePerson 2017 research, millennial respondents, 77% of UK millennials would rather leave home without their wallet than their phone. So they're happy to leave the wallet, but leaving the phone would be disastrous. And I think that's a sort of an insight into the mindset around what the mobile means now for the millennial group. And they actually consider the mobile to be the digital wallet anyway. We at Klarna did some research Q3 of last year, 1,100 respondents, just really asking millennials about pain points with buying and buying on the mobile. And some key data that came back, 41% would spend more if there was an easier returns process. 31% would spend more if you didn't force them to sign up and register with your site. They just want to get in, buy, frictionless, and then you send the goods. And 30% more likely to come back if you offer some sort of delayed payment, pay later, only pay for what you keep, because a massive pain point with this group, with millennials, is refunds and waiting for the money to come back into their account before they can buy again. It's a big, big pain point. So mobile, what next? Sort of trends, what's here already, what's coming? I'd encourage everyone in the room, whether you're in fashion, retailing or not, there's a study called The State of Fashion 2018 by the Business of Fashion and McKinsey. Really good report on their thoughts on future trends. And one chapter in the report is called Mobile Obsessed, and they see mobile obsessed sort of dominating the agenda in 2018. And I've pulled out some key highlights. Customers using their mobile device as their primary wallet. We see that if you travel in and out of London on the Underground, you see people with a mobile, sort of contactless, going into the tube, and we're seeing it already all around us. The second point, retailers using mobile or adapting the business to really cater online and offline. And a great example is Shoe, and Stuart from Shoe speaking this afternoon, so I won't sort of take his thunder, but with Ingenico, the Shoe app, and allowing customers to check stock levels in store on the app and sort of buy on the app in store, so bringing the two worlds together. And then this is a key word that jumps out. Any reports, any sort of analyst reports that you read, they talk about experiences with mobile, that you as a retailer, or if you're in the industry, you've got to help deliver a mobile experience. So that could be frictionless checkout, self-checkout, or mobile wallets in store. And really we talked about the pain points of buying on the mobile, but for a glimpse at what's coming, we've got to look east. And if you look to Japan, South Korea, over half of e-com transactions are now on a mobile. China, 82%. And Europe is still, the average is still only 21%. But this is from Bloomberg. The prediction is that Europe will grow 23% each year for the next 3 years. So that is that, if you like, is not to block the slide, but that's a huge opportunity, and that's coming. I think everyone in the room knows that's coming. You may be familiar with the Singles Day stats already, but I'll just sort of recap them, but some mind-blowing figures. 2017 Singles Day for Alibaba in China, their record day, 25 billion in one day, 90% on a mobile. And they put that down to one key factor, actually, was their use of chatbots. So the big social platforms in China, like WeChat, having been able to answer product questions in real time, they answered around 3.5 million users a day, versus if you have a traditional customer services rep who can manage 200 to 250 inquiries. So they call that out as a key factor behind their record day. Another trend, it's with us already. All of these guys, all of these logos are just working on ways of optimizing the mobile checkout, making it 1-2 clicks, not having to punch your card details in. Key players here, but lots of new entrants, it seems every week, every month into the market, all focused on mobile-first transactions. And trend-wise, this is actually, I use this example because it's a local company. They're in Redditch, if you're familiar with Gymshark. And Facebook actually called them out in an earnings call recently as a great global example of a company using Facebook, Instagram well. And what Gymshark do incredibly well is, and you can see at the bottom there, the hashtag GymsharkWomen. People really buy into the lifestyle, to the brand. They buy the clothes, they upload to Insta images of them in Gymshark, working out on a daily basis, and really creates brand loyalists, a real sense of community. So Gymshark doing that really well. Another example of a company that, if I asked people in this room to name 100 watch brands, I don't think many would say MVMT, but they're cited as one of the first sort of mega Insta brands where all of their growth came from Instagram. They've got over 1 million followers, and they really carefully curate the pictures they upload to their Insta homepage. They encourage followers, users, brand loyalists to do the same. And again, they've created this huge Insta community. And influencers, you're all familiar with influencers. Really, the social platforms are working on ways at the moment of making shopping on there even easier. So in this example, it's Poppy Delevingne. This actually came across my sort of social networks at the weekend. My wife's friend saying she loved the outfit, my wife saying amazing, where the clothes from, and Poppy Delevingne's tag perfect moment ski wear. So the sort of the platforms there, the interest, the visual stimulation, but what we don't have yet is the immediate way to buy, but that's coming. All of the big names are working on that. And back to the State of Fashion report. So the key trends, and it's something we're looking at Klarna as well, is they see, perhaps the bottom bullet is the key one here. They see a shift from user-initiated interaction on the mobile to event-driven. So it's taking the apps to the next stage where, based on your location or your interest, that often with the help of virtual personal assistants, they are suggesting to you if you've checked in somewhere, or if they know you typically do something at the weekend, what you should be buying, picks, etc. That's where they see apps and the mobile going. So, I mentioned before this sort of new way to buy that Klarna's involved in, and Smooth Dog makes an appearance again. And really the internal language we use at Klarna is helping to turn sitting rooms into fitting rooms. So letting people, without paying any money, order their products, get them at home, try them on, or see what it looks like in cabinet, TV, whatever it may be, and then pay. And this isn't a new concept. If any of you trade in the Nordics or in the Germanic DACH region, invoicing is really common over there. You'd order something online and then typically expect to pay 14 days later, or you return it. And we at Klarna brought that to the UK 2-3 years ago. But it's not uniquely Klarna doing this. Last year, Amazon Prime launched Prime Wardrobe. Draper's called it a game changer. So the fashion category in particular is really moving in this direction. So with Prime Wardrobe, order what you want, return what you want. You haven't paid anything to Amazon yet. They actually offer incentives for you to keep clothes and not send everything back. But other merchants, other brands doing this as well. So Vestiaire Collective, working with a company called Afford It Now, and they position it as wear now, pay later. Our version of it, Klarna Pay Later. So how does it work? You try it, love it, then pay for it. So you order anything you like on the merchant site. So let's imagine it's on the mobile site. It's a button. You enter your sort of address info, and there's a button to pay later, order now. And you get it at home. When the items are shipped to you, that's when your countdown starts. So in the UK, we offer pay later 30 days. So from when the items are shipped to you, the customer, 30 days begins. So in that time, you then decide what you keep, what you send back. In the meantime, we've paid the merchant, we've paid the retailer already, typically 3-4 days later. and the customer has 30 days to pay Klarna. It's an example. This is on Size, who are part of JD. You can see we explain to the customer, get your goods before you pay, no credit application, no interest, no fees. Sit back and relax. We'll let you know when payment's due and place, order, and pay. So we're really addressing the pain points I talked about earlier around putting in card information, and we're making it a 1 to 2 click mobile checkout. ASOS launched October of last year. They really heavily promoted and still are promoted try before you buy. You can see some examples here in the ASOS app. And lots of other merchant examples. I've put this slide up because it's interesting how we call it Klarna Pay Later, but different merchants position it in a different way. So the JD Sports example, Shop JD's Most Wanted, pay in April. So they're saying pay next month. You know, that went out in March. Buy it, love it, pay for it. Top Man, try now, pay later. Try now, pay later. Try it first, pay later. So lots of different versions, but the principle is the same, that you're paying later. And mobile shoppers love it. So we're obviously looking at, we're doing lots of research. We're looking at merchant data, what they're telling us about usage, and really the key pain points that Pay Later is addressing is people on the move, so no-time shoppers, you know, on the mobile, on the train, and that sort of 1-2 clicks to check out. Want it before payday, particularly important for millennials, and we see typically, and merchants in the room may agree with this, that you would see a dip mid-month in sales, online sales, because people are waiting for payday, and then a spike on payday. When merchants add pay later, you still get that payday spike, of course, but a lot more sales mid-month. If people have a party or they need an outfit or just need something now, pay later allows them to do that without paying any money at all. And the keep or return, no hassle refunds. I mentioned this before, that getting tied up waiting for a refund that could be anywhere between 2 and 6 weeks. I had a recent example, 7 weeks waiting for a refund back to, I won't mention the sort of the payment provider I used as well, but it was an issue with the merchant releasing the funds to the payment provider to then go back in my account. That took 7 weeks. Now, if your disposable income is limited and you really wanted to get a replacement item, you're waiting 7 weeks to then be able to afford that replacement item. And this lots of social buzz around Klarna and Pay Later. The gentleman here on Twitter says, arrived for me today at 9 a.m. this morning after ordering at 11 p.m. last night. Thanks to Klarna, I'm not paying for another 30 days. So incredible service directed towards ASOS, and Klarna sort of being the enabler of that. And lots more sort of social media snippets. ASOS as Klarna payment is my new fave thing. Very impressed with the Topshop at Klarna payment method. Somebody doing research on where Klarna's available. Size uses it too. The middle one's really interesting because I'm sure the Beauty Bay guys won't mind. We're in active discussions already, but we're not live on Beauty Bay yet. But one of their customers talks about a world where you could pay on Beauty Bay with Klarna. The next one, I've used icons to just to protect the innocent, to blank out some swear words. But this lady talks about ASOS now selling Mac, unlimited free next day delivery, and Klarna. Her friend says life equals made. The middle one, ASOS doing Klarna, literally the best thing in the world. I'm trying to choose my words here. I won't read it all out. Work away, order whatever you want, and just pay for it on payday. Thank you, Jesus blessed. And the N1, truly dreading the amount of washing I'm going to have to do in April with all these jovialities, parties, I guess. I might just Klarna me life, I think is fair to say. So we're seeing actually in a lot of the social media monitoring we're doing that it's almost becoming a verb to Klarna it, to delay payment, to get it now and pay on payday, Klarna it. And retailers love it. So we anonymize results across our sort of merchant base, but 16% higher purchase frequency, and that's not a surprise because, like I said, they're not waiting for a refund, so they're returning to buy again. If they've sent the items back to you, they'll come back. They're not waiting for a refund from you. So 16% increase, 8% increase in conversions because we just make it easier to buy. 22% increase in items added to baskets. So this is an interesting one for retailers. That it's that mentality really that I'm not paying now, so actually I'll add a different color option or maybe that size. And so pay later buyers add more items to the basket, which increases the AOV. And just sort of final thoughts, trying to wrap all of that together. I think it's fair to say, particularly for millennials, that mobiles are an extension of self. So the means really by which we communicate, travel, interact, learn, plan, shop. And if you don't enhance the mobile experience, then you're out of the game. It's as simple as that. And the stat before about being deleted if you're an ugly app, and you need to enhance their mobile, this sort of extension of self. Today's shopper, it's got to be frictionless. Don't make it hard for them. Make it 1 or 2 steps. And payment methods like Klarna, but lots of others, Apple Pay, PayPal, they're really driving mobile conversions with 1-2-click checkouts. And pay later really has become a sort of new category, a new way of shopping. Klarna's involved, but some of the other names I mentioned as well. So something to consider for your retail strategy this year. And finally, we published a white paper with internet retailing. It's available on the Klarna stand. Please swing by. It looks at the 4 common characteristics of retail leaders. So innovative, courageous, inspirational, consistent. Swing by, grab a copy, some more data in there, some really good data. So thank you. And any questions?
Thank you, Russ. If you've got any questions, put your hand up. There's some microphones, one down here. God, it's bright up here. It's like on stage.
Hi there. Just a quick question. What percentage of payments don't come back to yourself from that? There's no data on that. So there must be some default payments.
Okay, yeah.
So how do you tackle that in terms of the merchant and as well the buying party?
Yep. So what happens is when we assess the customer on the merchant site or on the mobile based on the email address, and it could be the postcode that they've asked for delivery to, and we just make sure they are who they say they are. That's happening in real time. We're pulling in, it isn't a credit check, it's called a soft bureau check. We're pulling in some data, and if we approve that transaction, then we're happy with who they say they are. With a lot of fashion retailers, those approval rates are at 90+%. Not everyone will be approved because some people's credit history is just so poor that we can't sort of take on that risk. But if we approve the transaction, then we are paying the retailer regardless. We pay them out within a few days. And then the payment is between the customer and Klarna. And as I mentioned, we don't charge late fees or anything like that. But you do get a percentage who won't pay or don't pay or can't afford to pay, like a vulnerable customer segment, we call it. It's a tiny percentage because if we've done at the front end, if we've done our homework correctly, we shouldn't be lending to people who can't pay us back. So the answer to your question is, it's a tiny percentage, but Klarna is taking that hit. That hit is on us, not on the retailer, if their customer doesn't pay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
We got one here.
One
Okay.
here.
Hello, I just wanted to clarify, you said that currently 21% of online sales are done on mobile and it's going to grow 23% each year. Does that mean at the end of 3 years, mobile will be 90% of online sales, or is it 23% of that 21?
It's growth 23% of the 21 over 3 years, yeah.
Okay.
That's the way Bloomberg, I didn't want to copy Bloomberg's data and then sort of reinvent it, but that's the way they position it, that it's 21% and that 21% will grow 23% over the next 3 years, 23% every year.
Thank you.
Sorry, there was one, yeah.
Hello. One
Hi.
bit I missed, who's paying for the credit? Is that the customer that pays for the credit, or is that the merchant that's paying for the credit?
So it's a key point. This isn't credit. And if it was credit, you then enter into a whole different world of FCA regulation, and this is deferred payment. You, the customer, are not entering or signing a credit agreement. There are no charges, no interest rates, anything like that. This is just, it is basically the delayed payment invoice model. Klarna is a Swedish company, been around for 10, 11 years in Stockholm HQ, and that's the way people pay over there. They in those markets, they pay 14 days later. In the UK, we have 14, but we launched 30 as well, particularly for the fashion buyers. But the key thing to stress is that this isn't credit. You know, credit scares off a lot of shoppers and a lot of retailers who don't feel that it fits with their sort of brand values to offer credit on site. So not credit, just deferred, delayed payment, yeah.
So you have some really interesting stats around your increase in purchase frequency and average order value and units per order. Do you also see a comparable increase in the amount of stuff that's actually being returned to you guys, or do you have more people who are actually keeping the increased orders they're putting through? Yeah,
it really differs by merchant, and I think the starting point to answer that question, every meeting we go into, this is a key concern and question, and the starting point is often how easy the merchant currently makes it for people to return items, because in many cases there's so much friction that their return rates are very low. And I meet with retailers who have a 10% return rate, but I also meet with fast fashion retailers who are operating with a 40 to 50% range return rate, and their whole business model is based on that. And so what we find is that it can vary from negligible, that actually the people returning the items are their loyal customers anyway. You know, like some of the social media examples I gave, where these people are buying on a weekly basis and returning, and we're engaging that returning customer anyway. So they're buying more items and then returning more, but actually what you've got to look at is what's the differential, you know, what's the revenue upside. And in all cases, you know, nobody's switched this off, it works. But I think the more interesting data points that people like ASOS and Arcadia in particular, who called this out recently, are looking at is the lifetime value of that pay later customer. The fact that they may be returning, but they're coming back more frequently, and they're spending more, and their AOVs are more. So they are a more valuable customer than a traditional sort of debit card customer. Yeah.
Okay, we've got time for one more question. I think there was a hand over. Was there a hand over there?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
So this may be slightly off topic, but I think in Sweden you offer store-based payment options.
Yeah.
Are you looking to do that in the UK as well, or?
Yeah, it's absolutely the way the business is going, and sort of app-based pay later, or we offer a variety of solutions at Klarna. It's not just pay later, we do the full checkout as well, and we do actually have a credit solution, like traditional credit solutions. So yeah, that's coming, and you're absolutely right. In Sweden, you can use Klarna and your Klarna app to pay on the underground over there. So you know, we've got lots of options ahead of us in the UK and Europe. Yeah.
Great.
Sorry,
okay.
I'm really conscious that the gentleman here.
go on.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah,
it's only lunch.
thanks.
Some of my sort of initial question has been partially answered. But when you're paying the retailer in 4 days or 5 days, and I presume you take a cut of whatever that fee is.
Yeah.
But what happens with the sort of more high fashion end, where if someone's returning the product 30 days after they'd borrowed it, it's out of fashion. So there's quite a high risk for the retailer. How has that been addressed currently?
Yeah. So first of all, you're right. We just charge a transaction fee, no additional cost. It's a percentage of the transaction. And the key thing to sort of state here is the retailer still controls the returns process. It isn't Klarna deciding to approve a return, or it has to be as per the retailer's T's and C's. So if the merchant's returns policy is only 2 weeks or 28 days or 2 months or whatever, they are approving the return, and then they will send an API call to Klarna saying it's approved. And if, in most cases, the customer in the 30 days won't have paid anything in that time, we see typical pay later sort of repayments happening day 28 to day 34, day 35, once they've received a reminder. But if they have paid something already, then we're refunding the customer. So key thing to bear in mind is that the merchant still controls this, and they may, to your point on high fashion, they may decide that it's outside of the returns period, or they're not approving the return, and then the transaction stands as it is. But that is the merchant's decision. We're just acting on the information they send to us. Yeah.
Great. Thank you once again, Russ.
Okay. Cheers. Thank you.